Hello, Mia DeBolt here, bringing you more transparency in trading. Thank you so much for joining me in my journey towards 7 figures of funding. Okay, so today I'm going to be reviewing day 6 of the funded trader and day 8 of the FTMO challenge that I'm currently in. So it's Friday, January 27th. And I'm going to be reviewing that trade with you. So it being a Friday, I was really excited about the trading session because I typically find that the last Friday of the month is kind of where earnings are being made. So what does that mean? It means that I'm kind of looking for big moves, for a lot of liquidity to be taken by the banks or whoever the market makers are, and I'm looking to ride their coattails. So I was looking forward to Friday the 27th, and so let's dive into the charts and see what I did as far as trading. Okay, so one thing that I do want you to note is that I was waiting till the PM session because I do note that a lot of times the moves and the continuations will happen in the PM session. So there was a lot of up and down, but I was watching the time frame of after the New York lunch. So the New York lunch is typically till 10 o'clock my time. The New York lunch short-term low was actually taken, and so that was swept. I was looking at that as manipulation, and there's a 1 minute fair value gap and the market structure shift. So those are all confirmations that price was going to continue going towards the buy side. All right, so the daily low had been taken already during the morning session, and so it was looking and seeking for more buy side. Okay, so let's play this. I'm going to play this in 2 times the speed so that we can just make this really fast and efficient. And you can see that I entered the longs. So one thing I do want you to note is 8-cap has really poor spreads compared to FTMO, and I'm really not appreciating or liking that, but it just allows me to know that I need to kind of be a little bit more patient with those trades. So you'll see that this is kind of a detriment to my trading that day. So I will share that and point that out. All right, so my positioning for 8-cap and the funded trader is a little bit lower than the FTMO. Okay, so let's just fast forward and you can see what the end result is of this trade. I was looking for more buy side. You can see this blue area. This is all fair value gap and all just potential money for the market makers. All right, so that's what I was kind of targeting, is kind of no man's land up there. So there was a weekly high up there, but it was way up there. And so I was just watching and making sure that I was cognizant of any kind of shifts in market structure to the downside so I didn't get caught off sides. Okay, so let's continue up. You can see that it's moving nicely. There's a fair value gap on the 5 minute that I really like, and that should stay open. This 1 minute fair value gap should stay open. So let's just continue this. Price did in the morning really respect this 50% of the daily wick, and so that was something that it accumulated down below. So this price is continuing up. You can see the differences in spread are pretty significant. I've already trimmed my risk, so this little red hash is where my stop loss is, and so I've trimmed my risk to that 1 minute fair value gap, so I'm pretty comfortable with that. So it's also that 5 minute order block. So I feel like if price is going to continue down here, then it's most likely going to turn, and I don't want to be in that trade. Okay, so let's fast forward this. It does end up dipping into that 1 minute fair value gap that's down there and then start turning around. So I did have to endure quite a bit of retracement there. However, it did have a really nice push up, and so that gave me kind of the warm and fuzzy that we're going to continue up. So I do find that typically when the 5 minute candles are closing fairly high amongst this order block, that we are going to continue up. This is just a fake out. Okay, so let's continue fast forwarding. That way we can get to the meat of it, which is that we continue up. This trade does end up being a fairly long trade. The PM session trades, I do find that they take a little bit longer, and maybe that's because of volume or whatnot, I don't know. Okay, so we are still respecting that 5 minute fair value gap, although we have kind of come back and revisited it quite a bit. There is a 1 minute fair value gap, and this is a balanced price range, so it should be respected and not filled. Okay, so let's see, it does fill a little bit, and then we continue. So I want you to note too, as I flip back and forth between 8-cap and FTMO, how much different the spread is. So I entered this trade pretty much not at the same time, but pretty close to the same time, and my 8-cap spread and position is a lot different than the FTMO. Okay, so I'm trimming risk. I do want you to note that I don't ever open my risk up more than 1% that I originally risked. However, I do end up moving my stop loss back and forth because there are some possibilities that I could be stopped out. Okay, so this is where it takes buy side here and it's starting to retrace. And so let's just see, I do move my stop up to break even for both of these, and then I change my mind. Okay, so because I'm fooling around with my stop loss, and I don't recommend this for people who are brand new, and I'm still learning what to do with my stop loss, and when that's the case, I probably should just leave it alone. So that's kind of what I learned in this trading session is, especially with 8-cap, I should just leave my stop, because you can see my stop wasn't even taken, but the spread caused me to be taken out. So I did move my stop fast enough in FTMO, and I did move it back to the original position. So I believe I am thinking about maybe even stacking another position here, but I don't end up doing it. And I'm also thinking of re-entering in 8-cap. However, I don't end up doing that either. Okay, so price is going to start moving up nicely. It's going to take that buy side with conviction with a fair value gap, so that's a really great indication that it's continuing. And I take a partial here at 50%, so I take 50% off of the trade because we are in a Friday, and I don't want to be caught off sides as far as the earnings. So if the price wants to continue down and just start taking all of these stops, then I would be one of those. Okay, so this rejection block and old monthly open is something that I had my eye on, and so this is somewhere where it might be sensitive, and so again, I'm looking to take another partial. So I like how price is just kind of stalling and not really creating that displacement to the downside, so that's a really good sign. I'm just going to fast forward this quite a bit because it does consolidate for quite a bit. All right, so I took another partial here. I took another 25% off. You can see I'm at 0.75 for the day, and we're continuing nicely. So 15-minute fair value gaps, we're respecting the candles previous to that, so I'm feeling pretty good about this trade and about it continuing up. So I'm going to fast forward to kind of where the end of the trade begins, because my exit from this trade is really important as well. So I'm looking over here to my other screen, and what you can't see is that I'm also looking at the Nasdaq. So the Nasdaq was reaching for a weekly high, and so pretty soon I'm going to bring that screen over so that you can see exactly what I'm looking for. So that's where I'm expecting the Nasdaq to reach for. And because we don't have a lot of liquidity that's external or that's really obvious for S&P, that's where my terminus is going to be, is that weekly high on the Nasdaq. So I just was expecting that to be the end of my trading day. Okay, so it does retrace a little bit, and I'm okay with that. It's dropping down, but I've aggressively moved my stop. So I'm in profit no matter what, even if my stop gets hit. So I'm totally okay with that. So here we go. We're gonna push up with Nasdaq, and you can see that it is the end of the video. So I will be closing out for the rest of the day. I'm really happy with how I was trading. Okay, so it's gonna start extending out. When the weekly high is taken, that's when I'm gonna close out my last 0.25%. Okay, so it's closed, and I banked 1.21. So that's the end of my trading day for Friday, and as you can see, it did pan out pretty nicely. So I took 50% off here, I took another 25% here, another 25%. So I almost got the high of the day, which is totally fine that I didn't, and it actually hit my terminus target, you know, as I set my trade. But like I said, there was no clear targets for the S&P, and then it did drop significantly down to the 50% of the daily range. So that's what I didn't want to be caught into, And so I'm really happy with how that trade ended up and how I got out of it. Okay, so that was day 6 and day 8 of my challenges. And so I ended up with a small loss with the funded trader, so 0.25%. And I do attribute that to just aggressively trailing my stop and cutting my risk too early. And so that's fine. My balance for the week was 2.61. And then FTMO, I had an ending balance of 4.06 after that 1.21% win. So I was pretty happy with that. Went into the weekend with a really great attitude. And even if I had lost on both accounts, it would have been a really good learning lesson. So day 6 in the books and day 8 in the books. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me in this journey. I do look forward to breaking down the next trade that I did take, and I took that today. So we'll be all caught up, and I look forward to it. So make sure that you subscribe below so that you're getting all these videos and you get all of my trades along the way as I move towards my 7 figures of funding. All right, thank you so much for joining me, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.